When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
Great Scott, we're going back in time as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future. We are super stoked to talk about our top 5 favorite moments of what makes this movie so great. So Roman, I'm kicking it off to you to start us off with number 5.
First of all, I am someone who believes that the 80s is the greatest decade of cinema. And we've talked about on this channel before some of my favorite movies of all time, such as Ferris Bueller being my number 1 movie of all time. But when you think about the 80s as a cinematic decade, Back to the Future is definitely one of those seminal blockbuster giant movies. And so being able to see this in theaters was super special. And also your fiance saw it with us. She had never seen it before, so that was really cool. That was something that I personally wanted to be there to see her reaction to that. But the 80s aesthetic, I mean, it is all over it, because obviously it was shot in 85 and just this being such a giant. And I've always felt like I get goosebumps whenever I see any movie with a big line, like a famous line that gets quoted. When I see it in context, it gives me chills, it gives me goosebumps. So when you hear Doc at the end say, "Where we're going, we don't need roads," you know, I get a little shiver up my spine in a good way.
Yeah, I think the reason Back to the Future works and so many other movies like it is because the 80s was a time before the world really shifted. I mean, in the 90s, you know, the technology age kind of started, and in the 80s, the clothes, the music, the style, the way people lived life just had a certain charm to it. And movies like Back to the Future still bring us that charm to this day when we watch it. It seems classic, it seems ideal, it seems Americana. And modern movies don't have that same value, in my opinion. The modern movies don't have that same style or that charm that makes us feel like we're reminiscing on something. And so, you know, the 80s aesthetic overall is just such a great reason to why going back to this movie will always be worth it.
You can't talk about the 80s aesthetic and Back to the Future without mentioning the music. Huey Lewis in the news in this one. The story goes that they came to Huey Lewis wanting him to write a song for this movie, and he couldn't wrap his head around writing music for a movie. So instead, he had a song he was already working on, and he said, "What if I finish it and you use this?" And that song ended up being Power of Love, which is now one of Huey Lewis's most popular songs, but it is synonymous with this film.
Man, out of all the 80s bands, Huey and the Lewis in the News is probably one of my favorites. And so I think they were perfect for this movie. I mean, between Power of Love and Back in Time, those two were used for the Back to the Future franchise and just had that, you know, style that Back to the Future needed to throw a punch and just seem exciting. And one of my favorite ways that they utilized Huey Lewis is by putting him in the movie at the beginning. And when Marty and his band were auditioning, the judges, Huey Lewis is one of the judges. And in the middle of Marty rocking out on his guitar, Huey stops them and has the megaphone and just says, "Yeah, I don't think you guys are going to make it. You're too loud." And that's just so hilarious to me. And I think it was perfect, and just many more reasons of why the music in the 80s and the music in Back to the Future was just so well done.
Even though it's kind of one of the film's most cringier aspects, the part that always makes me laugh is specifically Marty's reaction to his mother having the hots for him. And specifically, like when he first sees her when he's back in 1955 and she turns the light on and he struggles with the idea that she's hot and he wants to say it, but the words cannot come out of his mouth. He says, "You're hot," like it, and that's so funny. And just throughout the film, when she is like fawning all over him and basically like throwing herself at him, and he is just like, "This is too much. I don't know how to handle it." That's just funny to me. Even though it can be cringy if you think too much about it, his reaction specifically to what his mother is doing is what makes it for me. But
one of the funniest things about that movie is that aspect of it, because he didn't expect to see his mom like that, especially the way the movie opened up. And she said, "I never did that when I was a little girl." And she was so enamored by him. And that's what makes it so funny, because it's awkward humor. And you have that, and he struggles with it the whole time, because he's like, "Well, she wants me, but I'm trying to get my parents together." And that's what just makes for this awkward whole aspect, because at the end of the day, like, he didn't really know how to play that because he's a teenage boy who still saw somebody as attractive, but also wrestled with the fact that
like, wait, that's my mother.
And then you had at the end when she tried to kiss him, and they both were just like, this is super uncomfortable. Yeah, and that's what made it so funny with that aspect. And
then at the end when he gets them together, and he's like, one day when you have kids and one of them accidentally sets fire to the living room rug, go easy on him. And his dad, who is just so hilariously awkward throughout the whole movie, is like, okay. It was just like perfect. That's a perfect button to this interaction.
Well, I think the relationships in this movie is what makes it so great, is because you have not only his interactions with his parents as younger, but you also have his relationship with Doc, who he already had a relationship with before he time traveled, but now he's getting a younger version who hasn't invented time travel yet. And there's just so much care between this older man and this young boy, because Doc Brown is insane.
Yeah, literally.
And Marty is the only one who kind of like puts up with his nonsense. And so to be able to have that relationship where Marty actually cares about this man and like wants to help him succeed as a scientist and goes along with that stuff. And what's so funny is that like when he goes back to 55, Doc has no idea what Marty is saying when he's like using his slang from the 80s, and he keeps on saying like, why do you keep on saying heavy? Like, what's up with this weight?
Yeah, like, what does weight have to do with it?
Yeah, what's weight have to do with it? Is gravity like different in the 80s? These type of things, and like the banter between that, like to this day, one of the two most iconic characters in movie history, and Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox, like to this day are still really close and just have such a special relationship, and people just love them for that. Ultimately, I think what kind of makes this movie so great is that it is still to this day the best time travel movie ever made, and it holds up. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but what makes it such great is like it's not complicated. Mm-mm. So many time travel movies today are so complicated and convoluted
that it's hard to follow.
But Back to the Future is so straightforward, but it also has stakes where it shows you, hey, when you time travel and you do these things, it does have effects. You watch TV shows, movies, all that kind of stuff, like even Avengers Endgame, like it kind of gets like very muddy. Because it's like, well, how does this affect this thing, and what does this do? When Back to the Future simply was like, hey, we're gonna go here, and if you do this, it'll affect this in your presence.
I specifically think about the movie Arrival, which deals with time travel and time, well, not travel, but time as it brings the idea that time is a circle, and it will all eventually come back around, and I love that movie, but even that got a little complicated. I'm like, wait, so who is this character to you now, but it's in the future? So like you're right. This movie, for it being so many jumping off points for future projects that took from this, for it to be kind of relatively simplistic in its understanding of, oh, I built this thing, this is how the car runs, set the date, hit 88 miles an hour, don't interact with yourself or change anything. Pretty simple.
Yeah. And I think that everybody has tried to play off of this since then, and this is why it's such a classic, because people continue to look at that and say, this is fun, it's not convoluted, it tells a cool science fiction story, and nothing will be able to top it. I mean, movies in the 80s have inspired generations of movies that still can't live up to that magic. And I think at the end of the day, Back to the Future, in its 40th year, will stand the test of time years to come. Well, let us know what you think down in the comments below. What is your favorite part of the movie, and why is it so special to you? Because 40 years later, this is such a classic to so many. So please like this video, subscribe to our channel, make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss another video from us. But until next time, we're Fandom Fix. See ya.